Hey everyone, this is Lolcohol, and in this video I am going to be discussing my summary on the 3.14 patch notes. So overall impressions, I'm very happy with most of the things that I saw and read, and I created little highlights of different parts of the patch notes. I am going to miss some stuff. The patch notes were massive, but on stream I went through and I kind of cut out a bunch of things that looked interesting. If you want to watch the full Twitch VOD of us going through the patch notes, I will link it in the description below. It's about 3 hours long, so that's why I am creating a summary. But overall, I'm very happy. The main thing that stood out to me is that the end game is very expansive now, and pretty much whatever you feel like doing is going to be rewarding in some way. If you want to delve, you can delve, and you're going to get fossils that are pretty much only going to drop there, so their value will be increased. If you want to do incursions, you can do incursions. If you want to do blight, you can do that. And all the rewards are going to be, well, at least I'm assuming their value is going to be increased because fewer people will be finding those league-specific rewards. So your time will be well spent. That's just my 2 cents. But let's go over these patch notes. And of course, you're welcome to disagree in the comments. Just keep it civil if you don't mind. We are all entitled to our opinions. And I like hearing contrary ones. So, first one, Conquerors of the Atlas encounters can now be accessed through the map item. Well, through a map item. So it's just so that you can apply scarabs and fragments and things to the actual Conqueror map that you get from Zana. So not a huge change, but it's nice. It's like a little thing. Maybe you can juice it a bit and get a Conqueror Exalt more easily. Crafts that added random Atlas influence to certain types of non-influence items have been removed. So initially, that's kind of, it's a bit lame because now you can't just get a Stygian Vice and have a 1 in 6 chance of getting a Elder Stygian Vice if that's what you need. But in place, crafts that randomize existing influence while also reforging it have been added. So I think I actually like this because influence items that actually fall on the ground now have value again, because you can't just super easily add influence to whatever. You know, if you have, let's say, a steel ring and it has no influence, in the past you would just take it to harvest and keep doing that until you get a Warlord steel ring. Now if you find a steel ring with any influence, it kind of immediately has value because you know you can re-roll it until you get a Warlord one. So that's my 2 cents on this. I like this. It is a nerf, but it still has use, and it once again adds value to actual drops of influence items. Completing the Heart of the Grove encounter for the first time now unlocks 5 extra Horticrafting stations crafting slots, allowing you to store up to a maximum of 15 crafting options. Very nice change. An extra 5 slots is huge. That will be great for SSF especially. I like this change. It's not too big a buff, but it's definitely something that we needed toward the end of Ritual League. This is what I was talking about in the intro. We have rebalanced League-specific rewards that were provided far more readily through other content compared to the original League content. Some rewards will now be exclusive to their respective League, or much rarer from other types of content. So this is great because this means if you are someone who likes doing delving, you're going to find fossils there. Whereas in the past, if you wanted to farm fossils, what would you do? You do Legion, you would do Delirium, you would do not Delve because, I mean, you would find fossils everywhere else. This is great. I think this kind of gives meaning to previous leagues, and it also widens the amount of endgame content that you can focus on and have it be profitable. So I love this. I love this. As for the Betrayal Changes, I like this change. So essentially, killing Katarina improves the reward of all of the Syndicate members. This is probably not important if you are someone who min-maxes their Syndicate, but if you're someone who just casually is engaging with Betrayal, I think this is a wonderful change because then you don't have to do all the, nerding out and figuring everything out with Betrayal. You can just do it get your people to high levels and kill Katarina, and you'll be rewarded nicely. So I'd say this is a buff to your sort of everyday player who just wants to engage with it on a sort of surface level, rather than getting too nerdy about it. The next one, this is a pretty huge change. Party members that are not the map creator are now required to be within 250 unit radius, roughly 2 screens, of a captured beast in order for it to be added to their menagerie. So for people who multi-box and do beast farming in groups and stuff, this is a huge nerf because you're going to actually have to be close to the beast. How I feel about that, I mean, it's not something I ever did. This probably reduced the prices of beasts overall in League, but I mean, multi-boxing, is it balanced or fair? I don't know. Kind of not really. So give me your 2 cents on that. You're either going to agree or disagree very strongly. Delve. Excellent changes. So they've nerfed very deep delving, but they've buffed lower tier delving. I don't feel like very deep delving needed to be nerfed. It was a very niche, small community, and a lot of work goes into being able to delve that deep. So reducing the rewards is a bit weird, but the thing that matters is that they've rebalanced it so that the majority of players are going to get better rewards at shallower depths. I love this change. That's great. Alva. She can now convert your completed and ready to run Temple of Atsuatl into a tradable object, something we've been asking for years, and now they've added it and it's excellent. Again, opening up the end game. If you are a player who likes running temples, you can go on the trade site or TFT, we'll see, and you can buy temples and run them. If you're someone who likes setting up temples, you can set up temples and sell them to people. This is what I mean. There's so many things you can do with the end game now. So I love this change, something we wanted for ages, and they finally added it. As for Metamorph, we knew that they added 2 new catalysts, but they surprised us in the patch notes with adding a 3rd one. So the ones we knew about were the Accelerating, which enhances speed mods, and Unstable, which enhances crit mods. Noxious, however, is a new one, which adds quality that enhances physical and chaos damage modifiers on a ring, amulet, or belt. I assume this will scale with things like physical damage over time, which is going to be probably quite meta this league, so this is a very nice one that they've added. A nice little surprise. As for this, vendors will no longer offer any scroll fragments in exchange for Piranus coins. Why? Why did you do this? I only just discovered this like 3 weeks ago, and it was so great, and now they've just removed it. So if you have 100,000 Piranus coins in standard, quickly, before they remove this, get your scroll fragments and your wisdom scrolls in before they remove it from the game forever. I don't know. I really don't know why they changed that. Labyrinth Changes. These are amazing. So now you can use an offering of the goddess in the map device to open a random trial of ascendancy. Great for SSF, great for players who don't want to have to go on, channel 840 to find their trials. It'll accelerate you into Uberlab more quickly. Excellent. However, trials open this way will not award an offering to the goddess upon completion. Otherwise, what you could do is just get an offering to the goddess, put in your map device, finish the trial, get an offering, and rinse repeat until you have all your trials done. That makes sense. However, the main thing is interacting with the divine font will now display a window with all the available enchantments. For example, after completing the Eternal Lab, a window will now be displayed where you will have an option to pick one of 3 helmet enchantments or an enchantment for your boots or gloves. This is huge. This is amazing. I love this. Again, something we've been asking for ages, but they've gone above and beyond, because what we used to want was, give us a choice of 3 helmet enchantments, but they've now said, okay, you can choose one of 3 helmet enchantments or a glove or a boot enchantment. I love this. Such a good change. And once again, opening up the end game. Farming lab now is going to be really good. Really, really good, because you can do lab services where someone gives you their helmet and says, I want this enchant, you keep running it until you get it, I'll pay you this much for it. That's the thing that some people do. Otherwise, what you can do is grab a helmet like a popular base type and then just run lab until you get an enchantment that's good and valuable, and then just sell it. So love it. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Next up, reserving mana or life no longer involves spending anything, so you don't need any current mana to turn on your auras. This is great. Little quality of life change. Sometimes it was a bit annoying. You'd be in your hideout, you would turn off an aura by mistake, and then your mana thing would be empty and then you'd have to wait or find a mana flask and fill it up and then turn on your aura again. It was very silly. So this is a great change. They did do a lot of other stuff with reserving and spending of stuff, but this is the one that jumped out. Again, these patch notes were really long. It took us 3 hours to read it, so I'm definitely missing some stuff. Next up, nerfs to skills. Blade Blast has been nerfed quite a bit. I mean, it's still going to be good, but it's not as good as it was. It was very, very strong, so kind of reining it in a little bit. It's kind of like a 25% nerf, so it's still going to be good. I know it's a nerf, but still going to be good. Blade Vortex, also, that's kind of an overall 25% nerf. Again, it's probably still going to be good, but not as good as it once was. Carrion Golem. The Cascade skill now has a 6-second cooldown, previously 4 seconds. Skill also now travels a shorter distance and has less area of effect. The summon Carrion Golem now deals approximately 11% less damage at all gem levels. This is absolutely fine. If you were thinking of doing Carrion Golem, you can still do Carrion Golem. This is far from rendering the skill unusable. It's still going to be very, very, very good. So Carrion Golem, there's a nerf, but it's safe. Don't worry. If you were league starting with it, you're fine. Let's see. Toxic Rain. The spread range of spore pods from Toxic Rain is now affected by area of effect modifiers. This means that having higher AoE causes the resulting spore pods to spread out more. Right, this is not a huge nerf. Considering how popular this skill has been recently, I was expecting bigger nerfs. However, each spore pod now applies 5% less movement speed to nearby enemies, previously 10%, to a maximum of 30%. So, big nerf to the less movement speed, but I mean, this skill, again, if you were planning on league starting with it, it's fine. Toxic Rain, A-okay, it's gonna be good. Not as good, but still good. As for Vitality, this is a very, very popular gem for leveling because it gives you ridiculous life regen, keeping you alive. So they have nerfed it at level 1 and at level 20, overall nerf, and I'm sorry to people who are actually using this gem for its intended purpose and not just for leveling. We nerfed it, sorry, but it's still good. It's still good. This is definitely still going to be something that I pick up on pretty much every build while leveling, so Vitality, fine. As for Vaal skill gems, so Vaal skill gems can now only be obtained from a set of specific methods such as Vaal side areas, divination cards, and the lapidary lens in the Temple of Atzwattle. At the bottom of the patch notes, I don't know if you notice, after the bug fixes, they said that you are still going to be able to corrupt gems to get Vaal skill gems. So that's a big relief. But overall, pretty much every single Vaal skill gem, except for Vaal Righteous Fire, was buffed in a pretty big way. Here's an example, Vaal Cold Snap. You can see the damage at level, let's say just level 20, went from 1,000 to 1,500 to 1,500 to 2,356. That's a flippin' huge buff. Also, it deals a lot more base cold damage, and it also has a hugely improved damage effectiveness, and the radius is twice as big. And also another thing they did was the soul gain prevention duration was reduced for a lot of gems. So if you don't know what that is, whenever you use a Vaal skill, you cannot refill it with souls by killing monsters for a certain period. Otherwise, you could just use it and then just keep killing stuff with it and then use it pretty much on infinite cooldown. So by reducing the soul gain prevention duration, it means you're going to have uptime on it much more often. And this is kind of an example of the buffs to a lot of the Vaal skill gems. And yeah, very nice changes. Let's see, Vaal Righteous Fire. If you're actually investing in Righteous Fire and Vaal Righteous Fire, it's actually going to be fine. But if you're not, then it's going to be a lot harder to get away with using this skill because it might just kill you. Brutality now supports any skill that deals damage. Great, this is a lovely change. There's a bunch of new physical based spells in the game that they're adding, Rend, Exsanguinate, and things like that. So being able to use Brutality with it is lovely. As for the update to the Atlas passive, there was a fair amount, not a crazy amount, but the thing that jumped out to me was mainly all of the new physical damage over time nodes that they've added, and that they're going to mainly be on the left side of the tree. So Templar, Marauder, maybe even Witch predominantly are going to have access to those, and that leads me to believe that Rend and Exsanguinate, we're going to be League starting with that, just by the way, but we're going to do it with a Templar. Next up, all the changes to the Atlas passives. So Haewark Hamlet is still going to be very good. There is going to be a very, very high chance to find the Sacred Grove, because there's already a 60% increased chance of, well, I don't know exactly what the chance was before. Maybe it was 10% and they increased it by 60%. So maybe there's like a base chance of 16% or 15%. Now you can also increase it by 10%. So maybe 1 in 4 maps, you're going to be finding the Sacred Grove. I haven't really spoken about Harvest. I don't know if I should. Okay, I will. I think it's great. I think what they've done with Harvest in terms of making it very much more accessible is very nice. You're going to see it a lot more. You're going to engage with it a lot more. You're not going to find the super valuable stuff that you can sell to other players or use yourself, such as annulls or whatever, but it's going to be much more engaging and you're going to see it more. So, yep, you can hate me for having that opinion, but I think it's very nice. I'm happy with what they've done. So, they've also moved away some of the Beyond nodes, and they've added ritual stuff to Haewark Hamlet. So I think Haewark Hamlet, once again, is going to be one of the best Atlas regions this league. Also, don't forget, there's also some very nice Essence passives that a lot of people thought, you know, those are almost like a filler, like a joke. But this league, Essences are going to be really good. Hopefully this video doesn't get too many views, because a lot of people are not going to farm Essences, and I am, and I think I'm going to make a lot of money from it, and I would recommend you do the same. So Haewark Hamlet, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Let's move on. Turns End, exotic goods now causes a wider selection of items to drop. I believe this was the invasion bosses drop a valuable item or something, so it says it can now drop a wider selection. Also, they have, in some ways, they've nerfed the Einhorn stuff in this area, the bestiary. So big game now has a 15% chance for yellow beasts to be replaced with red beasts. Previously 30%, so you think, oh no, they've cut it by 100%. No. But Great Migration now has a 10% chance for areas with Einhorn missions to contain an additional pack of beasts instead of other monsters, previously 5%. So they've cut this in half, but they've doubled this, so it kind of all balances out. But you're going to find fewer red beasts. But I think this is still pretty good. Lex Proxima. This is also going to be partially harvest based, but more focused on the heart of the grove, which is the Oshabi encounter, which should be a little bit more interesting this league. So you're not actually going to find the heart of the grove more often in this area, but Heart of the Grove, the Atlas notable, no longer grants 100% increased chance for areas to contain Heart of the Grove. Instead, it causes harvest bosses in areas to always drop a Sacred Blossom. So Sacred Blossom is going to be like a fragment that opens a portal to the Heart of the Grove, and that drops from tier 4 seeds. That's going to be more common, and having this kind of distinction between this kind of harvest and the one that we have in Haewark is very nice. There's also some other stuff to do with Delve. Packed with Energy now grants 1 to max all elemental resistances for each Sulfite Vein. Okay, that's cool. I don't know why you would do this. Lex Ejoris, this is super weird. They basically, this line, small Piranhas nodes now grant 10% chance to drop twice as many Piranhas coins. You think, hey, cool, more Piranhas coins. However, previously, it did 20% increased stack size of Piranhas coins found in areas. So this doesn't change anything except for the fact that more coins are going to fall on the ground and you're going to have to click more. I don't know why they did this. It's just like, can someone explain? Because the same amount of coins are going to drop, but they're going to drop in 2 stacks instead of 1. So Lex Ejoris is on my ban list. We're not even playing it this league because of this. Also, Friend of the Family now causes Kadira to offer the rarest of 3 options, previously 5. I mean, I wish they'd kind of just left that. Also, Metamorph thingies are buffed, so the actual Metamorphs are going to be stronger and do more damage and have more life. And I'm sure I'm missing other stuff. Time Dilation now causes Incursion monsters in areas to be at least magic rarity. Incursion Architects no longer drop an additional rare Incursion item. That's, yep, that's the thing. Pathological now has a 5% chance to apply layers of Delirium to maps found in areas previously 10%. This was a very, very cool node, so cutting it in half, it's probably balanced because those things were dropping a lot. Compulsive Hoarder now has a 10% chance to cause Delirium encounters in areas to generate 3 additional reward types. Previously it was 15%. Slight nerf, but I mean, Lex Ejoris definitely one to keep an eye out for. Glennach Cairns. Cultural Advancement has been removed. Its effects now appear on Time Dilation in Lex Ejoris. So over here you see that's the one that Incursion monsters in areas are at least magic rarity. That's over there now. Protracted Battle has been moved to New Vastir, and then a few other things. The main thing over here is that Legion was nerfed. High value targets have been added previously in New Vastir. It now grants Legion Sergeants an additional 25% chance to hold a reward, no longer guaranteed, so that's 75% less. Torn Veil now grants 50% increased beyond portal merging radius, previously 100%. Big nerf. Face to Face no longer grants 100% more timeless splinters from Legion generals in areas. I mean, it's still going to be good. Legion is still going to be good. I was getting so many splinters when I did this. You know, you would do one Legion and you get like 50 Maraketh splinters. That's kind of a lot. So if you're still getting 25 from doing a Legion encounter, that's still pretty damn good. So I'm okay with that. New Vastir. High value targets has been moved to Glennach Cairns. Protracted Battles has been added. Votive Horde now has a 20% chance for Abyssal Troves in areas to drop a rare item with an Abyssal socket. Previously 10%. It no longer increases the level of Abyssal Troves. Now this is something that I really, really like. It's a silly little thing where you click an Abyssal Trove and then sometimes an item with an Abyssal socket pops out, and most of the time it's going to be absolutely terrible, but there's something about seeing that Abyssal socket that's just really exciting. And if you can get something good, especially for SSF, this could be a source of upgrades. So I like it. I really like that they buffed that. New Vastir, I'd give probably an 8 out of 10. Valdo's Rest. Now this I find a little bit confusing. Diplomatic Escort now replaces one Harbinger with a King Harbinger instead of a group of Harbingers. I don't know if a King Harbinger is just one Harbinger or if it's one of those big boss Harbingers that you find at the end of beachhead maps. Someone in chat said no, it's just a Harbinger that drops slightly better loot. If that's the case, this is a big nerf to Harbingers in Valdo's Rest. But, I mean, that was such a strong strategy. We'll have to see how it looks, but if that's the case, this is a pretty big nerf. Depending on the value of Ancient Orbs next league, this might be a good strategy, but if Ancient Orbs drop in value, then I'd probably do all this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of us are sick of Harbingers at this stage. 2 more. Lira Arthain. Natural Selection no longer makes rarer beasts quite as common. Nerf to Bestiary once again. Immune Response now causes Blight monsters to spawn 150% faster. Very nice. Spells in the Wind now cause maps found in areas have a 5% chance to have an area contains additional Blight encounter enchantment, previously 10%. Little nerf, but maps drop like candy, so you're still going to find a bunch. Flash Breach now causes breaches in areas to open and close 50% faster, previously 100%. I don't know why they would change that, but it's okay. Uncharted Realms. Surprisingly enough, not that many changes. Neural Pathways now grants a 1% chance, previously 0.5% chance, for a synthesis map to be dropped from unique bosses in tier 14 plus maps. Now, I think they're doing this because they lowered the chance for Zana missions to have specific league content associated with it, but also I think they cut the number of synthesis maps in half from Zana, so you're going to see far fewer, but now if you get into higher tier maps, you can allocate neural pathways and 1 in 100 chance of getting a synthesis map, so that's pretty cool. Ascendancies, these were, there was not that much change. There was a bit of nerfing happening, but The thing that I liked was that Gladiator and Berserker are now focused on physical damage over time instead of more damage with bleeding, so you could actually do things like Exsanguinate and Reap with this. I think that's pretty cool. Things like Flawless Savagery, the increased crit chance mod applies to attacks and spells, and added physical damage mod applies to attacks and spells. So you could do something weird like a Berserker Rend spellcaster. I think that's very cool. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff, but this video is long as hell already. Alright, the Orb of Binding has been added to the core drop pool and can be obtained from various sources throughout the game. I love this change. Orb of Binding is a great item, so what it does is it upgrades a normal item to a rare item and adds up to 4 linked sockets. So, I mean, imagine finding that in Act 2 or 3, or even up to Act 6 or 7. That'd be a wonderful thing to just find this thing that says, hey, here's a rare 4 link. But do you ever see them? No, these things only seem to appear in maps when they are completely useless. So by adding them to the core drop pool, excellent change. I'm looking forward to actually finally using some Orbs of Binding. As for Explodey, Explodey has been nerfed. Explodey was too strong. Explodey was meta for too long. So what they've done instead is that instead of always exploding, the enemies have a chance to explode, dealing 1/10 of their max damage. Their max life is damage. So it's still going to be good, it's just not going to be as good. Also, they are letting us keep the old version of Explode, so if you're into Standard, you better craft some before they change this, because Explodey Chests in their current form are going to skyrocket in value in Standard because they're going to be unattainable. Also, Phys Dot has been added as a prefix to wands and saves. This is excellent because the new skills, Exsanguinate and Reap, are going to scale off Phys Dot, and being able to crop that on wands and staves, wonderful, yay. Next up, Essences. I love what they have done with Essences as a general broad upgrade and buff to all of them. So an example, Deafening Essence of Contempt. This is essentially adding flaring to a one-handed weapon. It's not quite as good, but it's almost there. Same for two-handed. So this is just an example. They've done the same with the Essence of Woe. So you can now use essences to guarantee almost tier 1 mods on your items. This is why I think essence farming this league is going to be really good. Essence crafting is going to be really good. So don't overlook it. Essences, super sweet. Also, they've done some weird stuff with a skill called Fireburst that I didn't know existed. This might be good. I don't know. We'll test it out. This is also a nice little change that they added to the crafting bench. So all the unveiled stuff, they said that they were going to nerf the values on the crafting bench. They didn't nerf it that much, and they actually buffed some stuff. So things like this, strength and dexterity. This adds like 50 stat points. This is cool. So you can now craft this, and the things that they did nerf on the crafting bench are, it's negligible. It is a nerf. It will be noticeable in some cases, but it's not like they cut anything in half. It was like a 5 or 10% nerf here and there. Here are some of the things that are being added to Abyssal Jewels. So some of these are very cool. I really like the elemental ailment avoidance. These are going to feel impactful. A lot of the other stuff is alright that they've added. I was expecting more for Abyssal Jewels, but I mean, it's mostly buffs except for added damage to minions. Also, biggest nerf for the crafting bench, trigger a socketed spell when you use a skill. Now has an 8-second cooldown, previously 4 seconds. So, yeah, I don't know if those builds are dead, but that is a mighty nerf. We're almost done. Don't worry, one more page. So, crafting bench. Nerf's not as bad as expected. Next thing that is huge, many unique items that were league specific now have been added to the core drop pool. You can find Headhunter everywhere. So, I love this. I think it's cool. It kind of flies in the face of what I was saying earlier about how league specific rewards are now attached to league content, but I think it's different with the uniques, because the uniques were so hard to find, especially if you needed like a Spore Guard and you would have to run 700,000 blight maps to find one. Being able to actually find it in the game now, I think it's a very nice change. So cool. Headhunters from everywhere. Monster changes. The final bosses of each act have had their drops reworked. This is going to be similar to Diablo 2. You can farm Kitava, you can farm Vaal Oversoul if you want, and they will have a much higher chance to drop better items, so you can actually farm them for uniques. I love that. Also, allies cannot die. That is gone. Yay! Instead, A new benevolent Guardian Nemesis mod has been added, which causes the monsters with this mod to apply an immunity buff to nearby allies for a short duration. So this is great. Again, something we've been asking for years. They finally got rid of it and instead replaced it with something that you can actually play around, and it's also not going to be as common. Last but not least, holy crap, they've added Harvest to Zana's map device. This is... When I saw this, I thought this, I couldn't believe it. So it is going to be 12 Chaos Orbs, and you're going to have to unlock a lot of your Atlas to access it. However, don't forget that we have Fortune Favors the Brave. So for 3 Chaos, you have a 1 in 7 chance of getting Harvest or any of the other Zana nodes. So if you think about it, 21 Chaos on average, you spend just using Fortune Favors the Brave to get a Harvest. 21 Chaos for a Harvest. This is bonkers. I cannot believe that they've added this. But once again, I think it's great because Harvest is... All these things that they've done to make it more accessible have made it actually, I think, feel better. And last, Essence. I think this is very cool. Don't overlook it. I've said it a few times. Essences are going to be good. Anyway, I've been speaking too quickly for too long. I'm going to be streaming on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of the new league. I didn't even speak about Ultimatum because most of these changes are all to the base game, which is great. Ultimatum, going to be kind of fun, silly, short, shallow league mechanic, but the rest of the stuff is going to keep us engaged for a long time. So if you have any complaints or you want to share your opinion, please do it in the comments below. And if you like the video, subscribe, like, say hello, and follow me on Twitch. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good day. See you later. Bye. Bye.